today we're going to be talking about container gardening or planting or both. Container gardening is great if you're limited on space, have a very small area. The houses these days, they just don't give you a lot of ground gardening space. So container gardening is a great way of doing flowers, vegetables, trees, shrubs, just about anything can go in a container as long as it's the right size for that particular plant. It's great to have spot color in your existing ground gardens. I have probably 80 large containers out in my beds, my ground beds. Wintertime, they're great for spot color. In the springtime, I have really bright, colorful things in it. I have a woodsy garden, so I kind of like to get some brightness in there.
But we can't hear it all.
Okay. Unfortunately, the fan's loud, and if I turn it off, it's going to get hotter in here. Putting containers, bright colored containers in your existing ground beds is a great way of using a container garden. It's also great for an entry. I have 5 containers at my steps and a big basket at my door. They're very inviting to anybody that comes to your door, and I just love to look at it. I use container gardening also in my veggie patch, both for pollinators, and I just love to have that bright color with all that green. For planting in spring with annuals is a great way to get all season color through fall or first frost. If you're doing trees and shrubs that bloom, I like to stagger them to the time of their bloom. So a spring bloomer, a fall bloomer, summer bloomer, that kind of thing. That way you've got some things blooming throughout, and usually that would be different pots for each one if it's a tree or a shrub. When you're designing your plants, your pots, you want to look at the flower color, make sure it's a color that you really enjoy. Look at the structure of your plant, and look at the foliage. It doesn't have to be in bloom. It can be a great, well, this will bloom eventually, but it'll be a great foliage color. You can mix and match all that. I also like to make sure everything goes with the color of the pot. So you're really showing off the pot and the plants. Make sure when you're putting soil in, I would rather not use the old soil. It's full of roots, it's lack of nutrients. I always put fresh soil in when I do my pots, except for the trees and shrubs. Those I will add to give them first spring's nutrients. Great soils. For example, you want to make sure you're pairing up the soil with the plant. A blueberry. Blueberries require acidic soil. We've got a great azalea acidic soil here in the pink bag. You also would like to use the ericaceous fertilizer, which is for acid loving, which is the Rhody fertilizer. For your regular flowers, I love Edna's Best and Ultimate. They're great soils. I also will use a Sure Start. It's basically what I have in my garage that will work. A Sure Start will work. An all-purpose will work. If you're doing trees and shrubs, we've got a tree and shrub fertilizer in the old orange there, and those would go great in the Ultimate, the Edna's, or even the raised bed. I guess that's all that I brought in. So make sure you pair up your soils and your fertilizer. You want to be a very successful planting. When you're designing your container, look at the size. That's going to help you to decide how many plants you're going to need. I'm one that kind of packs my plants in, but you don't have to. Look at the tag and see how big that plant's going to get, and allow the space if that's the way you want to do it. As you will see in a little bit, I'm going to really pack this together. I love it when it spills over. It just becomes this big cupcake. We have 3 commandments in the plant designing: thriller, filler, and spiller. So your thriller is going to be the tall, your filler is going to be the medium size, and your spiller is going to be what mounds or spills over. Make sure you're picking the right lighting. Is it going to be a shade pot or is it going to be a sun pot? That's very important so that the plants are going to grow successfully. I'm going to, in a little bit, I'm going to do a light shade pot and a full sun pot. Make sure where you decide to put your container, you have easy access to water. Very important for easy access to water. It's one thing I can't stand doing is lugging a bucket of water clear across the yard because I forgot that the hose doesn't reach that long. Or you have to get another hose and you're dragging 150 feet of hose around. So make sure you find a good spot that's easy access to water. So you want to make sure it's the proper lighting, access to water, proper soil, proper fertilizer. For fertilizer too, we have the water-soluble seed grow. So this is one you can mix in water. These other EB stones are going to be granular or dry. Therefore, just put it in the soil as is. And then when you water, then the plants bring up their nutrients. Okay. Again, I'm sorry, the fan is really loud and we can't turn it off or we'll be cooking in here. Is there anything you want me to repeat before I go on?
Would you mind if we just pull these chairs over here so they sit closer?
That's fine. Absolutely fine.
I just wanted to ask about which one did you recommend for the blueberries?
Just sit
The
over there.
acidic. So the acidic soil, which is in the pink bag down on the ground, and the rhododendron azalea fertilizer. That's an ericaceous fertilizer, meaning they like acidic. Any more questions? You guys are good? You can pretty much plant in anything as long as it has drainage. I see a lot of people that are now doing those galvanized, feed store containers. Drill holes in those, they work too. Just be careful with certain things. Those really heat up the roots, and some plants don't want their roots heated up. A great thing to consider also, you know how you get a pot on your deck and it gets stained, and you got that ring, and you go to move it, it's like, oh, I gotta get that ring. Pot lifters. We've got some great pot lifters. These are just some simple squares. I put 3 in a triangle. Got some large squares, got some little squares. We've got some claws that are kind of fun. And I'm not sure how to say this to be kind, but we got some butts too. I've got some butts in my driveway. I get a lot of people that go, am I looking at a butt? Yep. Before you put the soil in, you get that soil that'll spill through the hole, the drainage. Put a coffee filter down. That will keep all that from spilling out. We use these all the time. If you have a huge pot, these are called upsadaisies. They come in a variety of sizes. They go into the pot and they'll go down maybe a halfway, or it depends on the size of the pot, or a third away, or 3/4 of the way. This will help lighten the load. If you're putting something in the plant that doesn't require all that space for root growth, then these are great.
Can you also use like empty jugs or old
I
plastic
have used actual the containers plants come in and flip them upside down. There's styrofoam balls you can get. There's all kinds of they're big. There's all kinds of ways of lightening that load. Now you don't have to. That's just a nice way. There's also, I forgot to bring one in, but there's little caster wheel platforms that you can put a container on and just move those. That raises it off the deck or whatever, and you can scooch them around. So we talked about that. I'm going to talk about when you go to put your soil in, which I've already done because I didn't want to lift the bag. Mix in your amendments and your fertilizers before you plant. So what I do is I use oyster shell. That's going to add calcium that will create good, strong plant cells. And I also use azomite. That's going to help your plants retain nutrients so that they'll continually be feeding.
That's shade or sun?
That's
Either.
regular. Anything. I use it in every single plant I plant because I want my plants to be happy and healthy. Azomite I put into, make sure it's in all my veggies as well, or herbs, or anything edible. That not only does that help them restore the store the nutrients, but it also enhances their flavors. Azomite is a trace mineral from a volcano in Utah. This particular one, and calcium's just the oyster shell, all ground up. Yes.
Can you use eggshell for calcium?
Eggshell you can. This is oyster shell, and you can see how fine that is. Calcium or eggshells will take a lot longer to break down.
Did you pulverize it first?
Pulverize them. Yeah. Yep. So today we're going to do a light shade garden. Now when you do your perennials, make sure there's something that you want to rotate into your ground gardens, because they eventually are going to be too big for the pots. They're for that season's fun, or the next couple, 2 to 3 years season's fun. So this is a Fatsia. Fatsias are going to get big, but I love using Fatsia. I have one at one of my gates that is just a Fatsia, and it's in a huge pot. That's a Fatsia and a big fuchsia, and it looks just beautiful together. So this is a Fatsia, and I like to use geraniums. This is a fancy geranium, and you're probably thinking a geranium in the shade. Well, this is for light shade. This is a Vancouver fancy geranium, and it can take light shade. I love that foliage, and I love that color along with the. Oh, I didn't put the fertilizer in.
Oh boy.
Oh no! I'm grounded. Okay, let's put some azomite in, some calcium in, and you don't have to worry about measuring. It's all organic. It's not going to burn. And I'm going to use Sure Start today. Give it a stir. Stirred, not shaken. All right, let's try that again. Let's get that Fatsia in there. And the geranium. So this is your thriller. This is your filler. This is a non-stop begonia, so it's exactly what it says it is. It will be non-stop in blooms. This will be another filler. And I need to add more soil for my filler. And I do love orange and blue together, if you can tell. Now this is a Terenia. Now that dark blue is going to make that light blue just pop. And then you fill it all in with the soil and you're good to go. Now this is going to get really full. This is going to be out to here. This will be a big spill or mounding. And this would be up here. This would be the type of container you would have against a wall or a fence or some structure, because you don't have anything to see behind it other than the Fatsia. So it's all going to be up front. Now the sun one, we're going to do.
Don't forget your fertilizer.
As the sun one we're going to do as if we're going to walk all around it. There goes the fertilizer. A little bit extra. There goes the calcium. And there goes the, what is it? There we go. You're listening. Alrighty, we'll stir that on in there. Okay, I always start with my thriller, because that's what I gotta work around. This is a canna. Now this one has some really good roots that I need to massage. And that's just waking it up saying, go ahead and grow some more.
Is that good to do to every plant or not?
You don't, this time of year, a lot of the plants have really young roots. You don't necessarily need to with those, but this one had pretty well established roots, and it just wakes them up and makes them feel like, okay, now I have to grow. Yes?
How much dirt do you put in the bottom before you start?
It depends on what I'm putting in. This one, I have a deeper center with the walls up because this is a much larger container or pot that this plant's in than the others that I'm going to be putting in with it. So it just depends on what you're putting in and the size of their root ball. So with this, I'm going to start adding my fillers. Just toss you down there. This is a geranium, another fancy geranium. Now this one's got some established roots too. So I'm going to work those and massage those. And then how about a yellow nonstop? You say, but this is a sun. As long as it's not against a wall or a fence where it would radiate extra heat, it can go. Okay? This is a Nemesia. If you can tell, I kind of like orange. I kept telling myself, don't keep getting orange.
What's that one called again?
This is a Nemesia
With an N?
with an N for Nancy. Yeah.
How far down are you putting those plants? I notice I can see kind of the tops.
You want to make sure that they will be at soil level when you add the soil afterwards, but you want to keep a lip so that when you water, it's not just spilling out, it's going in. So we got our Nemesia in. I'm going to put in an impatient. And again, I'm sure a lot of you are going, wait a minute, an impatient is for the shade. This is a sun patient. It can take sun or shade. All right, we'll get that in there. Coleus. Again, people think of this as a shade plant. Some of them can take both sun and shade. This one can take the sun and shade. We'll slip that one in right behind there. Heliotrope. Smells like baby powder. Very fragrant. That's going to be another filler. We'll tuck that in there. Let's see. How about let's put some pink in. This is another sun patient. Now all of these are going to be annuals, but I decided I wanted to put a perennial in because I like the color and the structure of where it's going to go. This is a heuchera. This is fire alarm heuchera. I don't know if you can see from your direction, but when the sun's on it, it's on fire. We'll stick that right about here. All right. Yeah, let's put it over here a little more. And here's another coleus. All right, time for some spillers. This is a calibrachoa, also known as million bills. We'll tuck that right in there. This is a verbena. It doesn't look like it's going to spill, but eventually it will spill out. We'll tuck that in here. Okay, another calibrachoa. Since I have pink over here, I think I'm going to put a little pink over here. And there you have a sun container.
How do you get any more soil in there?
Oh, it's easy. There's lots of space. You just gently. Like I say, I like to pack these containers. I want instant gratification. But all you have to do is carefully pull away the foliage and just dump it in there, pack it down, and just keep doing that until you don't see the root ball. Okay. Now you guys get to build one. So we're gonna pick a thriller. And if it gets really loud, yes.
What thriller do you recommend for like a shade, like a pretty shady pot?
You can do a fern.
A fern? Oh.
Yeah, ferns are nice and tall. You can do, it depends on how big your container is on what would be considered a filler or a thriller.
Okay.
Because some fillers can be the thriller if it's a smaller pot.
Yeah.
So, if it gets loud, whatever plant gets the loudest response is what we're going to use as a thriller. Okay, that wasn't a big
Tell us the name. Tell us the name of the plant.
Okay, this is a coleus. I call it the brain.
That's a coleus.
Oh no, sorry, celosia. I call it the brain because it looks like a brain to me. I like it. I like more unusual plants. So we're going to do a sun one today. This is a canna. Nice and striped. Okay, we got a little response out of that. This is a lavender on a standard.
Yes, that's nice.
This is a salvia.
It's
It's gonna be a okay. This is another celosia. This is a heliotrope. Yeah. You already saw one of those. So far, it's these two. So, salvia. Woo! Celosia. Okay, we found our thriller.
I like the color better.
Let me put some soil in first, or it's not going to get very planted. All right. Got the fertilizer.
Okay, I have a question for drainage. I always put a little bit of kind of sandy soil in the bottom of a pot, not necessary.
Not necessary. You already have your holes. So you just
Right.
want to make sure the holes don't get clogged with roots, which is another reason why I like to put fresh soil in as often as you know with each year, because roots can really clog the drainage, and then all of a sudden it's not good for the plants. It's just too wet then. Okay, mix that in. Add a little bit more. Mix that in. All right, we're gonna put our thriller in. All right, a little more soil for the rest. All right, now we're gonna pick more than one filler. This is a nemesia. So we're gonna look at the pot, we're gonna look at the thriller and the colors. And we can mix and match colors, don't forget. So nemesia, Nicotiana, Nicotiana. So you like the pink one, okay. Impatient, impatient,
Yeah. That would be good with the berry.
geranium.
No.
Did I do the coleus?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that one has a response. Another different foliage coleus. Yeah, okay. I get what Nia means. Geranium.
Yeah.
Okay. Biden. Let's see, I already did that one. Heuchera.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to pick because they might not all fit. going yet? Nope. Okay. So these were the choices. Impatient,
Yes.
Biden, Heuchera,
Impatient.
Geranium,
I think
Nicotiana,
Yes.
yes.
Coleus.
And these are all the fillers.
These are all the fillers.
How many fillers do we need?
And this looks like we're gonna find out. I'm gonna start with this because that's got some contrast there that we're gonna work with.
She's putting
Is this both sons?
This is gonna be for the sun. Okay, what do we want next to that impatient? I'm gonna hold them up. You want the heuchera?
yeah.
Okay. There's the heuchera.
Are all of these annuals that you're putting in?
Except for the heuchera. All right, what's next? We're gonna put one here.
Yes.
That or that. Oh, with this one? Okay. Next to that.
Yes.
I didn't even have to hold the second one up. Okay. Which leaves this or this. They're both going in, so which one do we want here?
The Coleus.
The coleus? Okay. Which leaves the geranium. Okay. So before we put our spillers, I'm just going to rotate this and see what it looks like all around. Okay. Now we're going to take a look on our spillers. This is a verbena. This is a terenia. Terenia. Callie.
Yeah.
Lobelia.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of spillers. The praising, yes. This is another Callie. Another Callie. We might have to vote again. This is a terenia. All right.
That's better.
What I'm going to do is have you pick what goes where, and then that'll be it. 'Cause we might not be able to use all of them. So, to tuck something in here, we've got this one.
I use that. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay, now this one has a little bit of a, it's got a lot of roots, but a little bit of a lot of soil, too much soil. So I'm just going to take a little away, and that's just massaging it away. Just to make it fit in the little space. Okay, there we go. So, for here, we have this, this, all right. Okay, where do we want another one? Let's put one right here. So we've got this left, and this left. This one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's got a lot of roots. Look at that. All right, look at that. You've just built yourself a container. I'm going to give it a spin.
Are these
No.
all door prizes?
You guys just built me a container I can put a price on. Now keep in mind, all this is going to fill in. You can see how this yellow cali was so much bigger than this lobelia. It's because it's an older plant. So it will all fill in and be one big gorgeous color. That's what you guys did. You built that. Now, unfortunately, nature happens. We get bugs. We do have products. That's why they made products for bugs. Typical ones are aphids, spider mites, and we do have organic options for that. This is the one I like to use. Not an organic, but I do like to use the Rose Shield because it covers so many things. Do I have any questions
What was that last thing you just pointed out?
on the
On the spray?
the
No, the purple, the other one right in front of it. Yeah, what's that?
that's Rose Shield 3-in-1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that disease?
So you say it's not organic. How does it have a lot of bad stuff in it?
It's just enough stuff to not be organic. Now this one is a Captain Jack's. I like this product as well. This is for organic. And this is another Captain Jack's for organic. This is neem oil from the neem tree. You use it on a lot of stuff. I always have neem oil, just neem oil. I always have 3-in-1, and I always have copper, which you probably don't need copper for this kind of gardening, but you would for like vegetable gardening. Insecticidal soap is just great for aphids.
Is there anything neem oil shouldn't be used on?
Well, you don't want to have it on flowers. It can be on the foliage, but not on the flowers. That's with any of these. Don't put it on the flowers. You don't want to hurt the bees. Bees are very important for our existence.
So should you spray that on before you plant?
No, I do it after. Otherwise, it'll be spilling all over you. And if there's a situation that you need to get an area and it has a flower, I put a gloved hand on the flower and give it a spritz. But make sure it's not going to drip down onto another flower. Any more questions?
How about containers that are sort of sun, but there's a lot of cement around for that radiation?
Then that would need to be, well, there would be certain plants. Some plants don't want that extra 15 degrees, basically. That's what you're going to add to your plants with the asphalt or a wall. So you want to make sure they're plants that can handle that extra heat. So, and that's what we're here for. We can take you around and show you those plants. Geraniums are great for a situation like that. I have geraniums on a western wall, and they can take anything. Yeah. Any more questions? No? Well, this was a short one. Yeah.
So the 3-in-1 rose that's on the foliage. So the ones that you dig into the ground, those are probably not good. Those
Like the systemics?
Yes.
Yeah, systemics are usually pretty strong.
So they'll the pollinators.
Not necessarily. You want to make sure with the systemic you're not using it on anything edible. Yeah, that's not good for anything edible. Yes.
So, I've been to your classes before, typically you discount 20% of what the topic is, so what all is on discount today?
Sea Grow is 20% off. This is your water soluble. And then the plants, if you choose to get plants today and you've brought your container, the plants are full price, but the planting up is free.
But if you just bought plants, they're not on sale.
They're not on sale because we're doing a container planting thing today. Yeah, where that part's free. Yeah.
Experience.
Yes.
How about hanging baskets? Like,
That's a container. You want to know what to put in it, or if it's part of the?
what to put in it?
Okay, so anything that is a spiller, you can put in. So any of the trinias, the callies, if you want perennial, vinca, creeping jenny, and then I typically put something that'll get a little tall, just so it's got a little height to it, in the middle. So
It would be a thriller or a filler.
yeah, we have super petunias. If you want something with a big flower, or the callies, which would be the smaller looking petunia, the terenias, the lobelias, creeping jenny's popular, verbena's popular. We've got Opacopa, that would be another one that's popular.
We've got people around the
We got
world.
people everywhere. We're here to help. Any other questions? Yes.
What's your ratio of the dirt, the filler, and the other things?
So I started with this one, for example. The soil was about here, with a little bit deeper on the back. So it would have been more like down to here on the back side, because this had a bigger root ball that needed to fit in. And this had a bigger root ball that needed to fit in. So it was dipped down a little more, and this was up higher because these were smaller root balls. And then you also want to remember to keep a lip after you've put the soil in. Keep a lip for the watering so it doesn't run out. Anyone else? Questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you for coming. We do have 60% off outdoor pottery, 20% off indoor pottery, and as I said before, the Seagrow is 20% off. And if you brought your containers, you go through the register and pay for your plants and go straight up the walkway, and they'll take care of you and get them all planted up. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.